the censure motion, where members of parliament have been signing the censure motion so that commissioners of parliament, including the former leader of opposition in parliament, Mathias Mpuuga, get to be called out because of the alleged corruption after they shared about 1.7 billion shillings amongst themselves. Now, Hampton Obua, the NRM chief whip, says that the members of parliament are not following, especially those from the NRM party, are not following the party prescriptions, and actually asked them to stop signing the censure motion until an investigation has been done and establishment has been made to ensure that they are acting according to the rules and regulations of the NRM party. But the move of the motion, Theodore Sechikubo said for them they will not be deterred. They are going to continue seeking for signatures. Last week they were looking for about 40 signatures, and this week they say they are looking for under 30 signatures. So that's what is happening in the Parliament of Uganda and so much more around the country. But we will launch into that after I have checked on the team. Jerome Paul, how are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing fantastic. I've been going through a survey here that was released by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development yesterday as they were launching the National Budget Month. And my observation also was that the Minister of Finance was not in the country and was represented by the State Minister, that is Honorable Evelyn Anite, who's in charge of privatization and investment, but still under the Ministry of Finance. And also what was revealed that day or yesterday was that Uganda is the most transparent country within the region when it comes to budget issues, according to the Open Budget Survey. However, still on a very good note that I've woken up on a Wednesday, details coming in from the developments at the Namugongo Shrine do not reveal some good news for Ugandans, because some of the pilgrims are still stuck at Namugongo. Why? Because they lack transport to head back to their different destinations where they came from, especially those who came trekking. So I don't know if the church has some, special budget for those people to head back home. But then also police yesterday released the same statement on the Martyrs' Day that 38 children were registered missing during the celebration. Now, out of the 38, that is at the Catholic side, 29 of them were reunited with their families. And then on the side of the Anglican, 4 cases were registered of missing children. And on a good note, 4 of them were reunited with their family. Now the question is, where are the 9 that are still missing? That is at the Catholic side. But nonetheless, it's Wednesday, and here we are to inspire the Ugandans.
Yes, here we are to inspire Ugandans. And as Sonko mentions the budget, it should also be noted that the network organization has also found that only 15% of Ugandans are involved in the budget process. And according to their findings, many Ugandans don't know what the budget is all about. They think it is just a government process that doesn't concern them. So in as much as we scored 59 points on transparency when it comes to inclusion and how the budget is implemented and what Ugandans know about it, we are at 15%. So we are still doing poorly in that facet. Well, good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you today?
I'm fine. Are you okay?
I'm very well. Just a little bit concerned that every single year we have to worry about people who need to return to their villages after trekking all those kilometers to come to Kampala and then get here, and 1, they don't know how to get back to where they came from. 2, they decide to, some even abandon their babies in Namugongo. Some even gave birth from there. I don't know if the goal was to come and give birth from Kampala. I still don't get it. And then others, they're still drinking beer. And then others came to our court using drugs as well.
But when it comes to Namugongo, I don't think everyone really comes for that event to remember the matters and for spiritual matters. Because let's face it, we've had the stories. We've seen the pictures. And it begs for the question, some of the people still stuck there, are they the people that really came for spiritual nourishment or they came for other things?
No, but most of the people who are stuck there came for spiritual matters.
Okay.
They came while trekking. So the chances are they didn't have even the money to bring them there. So only the money that they had on them was maybe money to buy some few, you know, some few things.
Like food and all, of which they are also complaining that the commodities and items and food were actually high. For example, a cup of tea usually, which is at 500 shillings, that's an unspiced black tea, was going for around 2,000.
So which means the cost of even living within Namugongo became high for them.
But then again, we have the same story every single year. People trek all those kilometers, get to Kampala, and then they can't return. And then people have to be mobilized, or we have to mobilize to send them back. Should we start thinking that these individuals come with the notion that when I get there, I'll figure out how to come back, the mobilize, and I'll be repatriated back to my village?
I want to believe maybe some of the believers are always believing in so many miracles at the same time.
I understand that. But now looking at Parliament and the censure motion, we now see that some members of Parliament are already writing to the Speaker withdrawing their signatures, as because especially those from the NRM party, after they have been ordered by Hamson Oboa, the party chief whip, to stop signing the motion. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, yesterday, Evelyn Anite mentioned something, Honorable Evelyn Anite, that she has always been behind the conversations to put an end to corruption, because corruption is something that makes the ruling party that she belongs to, that is NRM, unpopular among the people. So when you look at some of these developments, clearly it shows that some of some of the members of Parliament are not willing to take a stand against certain decisions that favor the people. Yes. So when you come to look at how many Ugandans were, you know, had bought into this particular censure motion and how many of them wanted these commissioners to be penalized, when you look at the majority of the members of Parliament coming out to say they want to withdraw their vote, I mean, it begs more for us as a country.
It leaves a lot to be desired.
Yes.
Anyway, I have a letter here from written to the Speaker of Parliament, and it is from Nanyondo Veronica, the Member of Parliament for Komansimbi. And she says, I respectfully write to notify you of my intention to withdraw my signature from the motion seeking to censure 4 backbench commissioners of Parliament. Right, Honourable Speaker, I was hoodwinked into appending my signature to what was disguised as an attendance list to a meeting called by the Leader of Opposition in his department's boardroom this morning. To this end, I am writing to categorically withdraw my signature and disassociate myself from the said list, as it was in bad faith and I was misled into signing. This is from the Member of Parliament from Bukomansimbi, Nanyondo Veronica. This, I saw some people on X saying that this is bad. This is bad because on one hand you're fighting against corruption, on the other hand you're saying you were being misled to sign a censure motion that is against corruption itself. But we will be speaking matters corruption, and we will be looking at how far the country has come and where we are going when it comes to fighting corruption, and that will be tomorrow as we await the presidential State of the Nation address. But for now, we delve into our local news, and we start with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has urged the commissioned officer cadets to uphold the highest standards of integrity and resist the temptation of corruption. Speaking at the commissioning ceremony, Museveni emphasized that the cadet training course is designed to equip soldiers with advanced combat skills, enabling them to operate effectively in diverse and complex situations. The president encouraged the new officers to embrace the values of patriotism, discipline, and selflessness, which are essential for building a professional and formidable military. He also reminded them that their role goes beyond combat, as they are also expected to contribute to nation building and community development. Moving on, the Uganda police is still stuck with 9 children who were abandoned by their parents during the Martyrs' Day commemorations in Namgongo. Police spokesperson Fred Enanga, while releasing the policing operations report from Namgongo, says at least 38 cases of missing children were reported and 29 have been reunited with their parents. The police crime report from the Namgongo policing operations has led to the crackdown on unscrupulous individuals who utilize the opportunity to rob people's valuables. In the operations, police arrested 22 for abusing drugs. Some impersonated as service providers to extort from pilgrims, while others were found with unacceptable objects like knives. The Police Department of Child and Family Affairs registered 38 cases of missing children, and 29 of these have been reunited with their parents, while others are still sheltered by police. In other policing operations, police has registered high rate of suicides, especially in Kampala Metropolitan. Over the last week in Kampala Metropolitan, at least 4 people committed suicide, which security partly attributes to the worsening economic situation. In Wakiso district, one Mwanguzi Caleb was intercepted while trying to traffic 4 children. Mwanguzi convinced parents of these children from Luwero while promising them education scholarships. In other news, many pilgrims remain stranded at the Catholic Martyrs' Shrine after the June 3rd celebrations, which drew over 1 million people from around the world for prayers. Groups of pilgrims with luggage organized according to their parishes are awaiting transport. Some are alone with no means to get back home. Among those waiting to return home is Justin Mugwanya, a pilgrim from Tororo Diocese who gave birth to a baby girl at the Catholic Martyrs' Shrine in Namgongo, but lacks the money to return home. She expressed gratitude to those who contributed some money for her and her baby to travel back. Others mentioned they walked from different parts of the country for the annual celebration, but are now unable to walk back due to ill health. Some displayed swollen feet from long trek, while others had red eyes. Among these is a 70-year-old Alex Onyango, who trekked from Mityana district, and Irene Ayo from Natete. The stranded pilgrims told UBC it was noticed that some were not mentally ill, as explained by Father Vincent Lubega. Father Vincent Lubega, the rector at the Namgongo Martyrs' Shrine, reiterated that the church was yet to identify the genuinely stranded individuals and would assist them in returning home. At the Anglican Martyrs site, the place was calm, with most pilgrims having already returned home. Reverend Bossa mentioned that only fewer than 10 cases of stranded individuals were registered and handled by the leadership of the Anglican site. Father Vincent Lubega noted that the number of pilgrims to this year's Martyrs' Day celebrations surpassed the expected numbers. Now focusing on to KCCA cleaners, Kampala Capital City Authority cleaners have stormed City Hall over late payment of their wages. These community cleaners, SACCO cleaners, demand payment of 4 to 6 months. The Deputy Executive Director, KCCA, however, says that they are holding engagements with the Ministry of Finance to have the cleaners cleared. KCCA cleaners stormed City Hall in Kampala, causing chaos over their late payment of their salaries, allegedly 6 months. These workers are involved in cleaning the city, distilling drainages, among others. The protests that almost turned violent prompted the police to intervene and control the unrest, preventing the workers from entering City Hall. They were blocked at the gate, refusing everyone entry. But the workers remained outside, demanding payment. The seemingly frustrated workers explained that their situation had become unbearable, which is why they are so angry. The Deputy Executive Director, KCCA, David Luyimbazi, stated that the management is ensuring these people receive their payments. He also explained the delayed payments. Well, that does it for our local news. Now, Chantal takes us through the international news.
Well, President Joe Biden has issued sweeping new executive actions aimed at curbing record migrant arrivals in the U.S.-Mexico border that have left him politically vulnerable in an election year. Under the new actions, officials can quickly remove migrants entering the U.S. illegally without processing their asylum requests. That will happen once a daily threshold is met and the border is overwhelmed, the White House said in a statement. The U.S. also unveiled new actions aimed at spreading up cases and easing pressure on overburdened U.S. immigration courts. Mr. Biden spoke about the order at an event on Tuesday afternoon after several border town mayors. He said this action will help us gain control of our borders. Some immigration activists already have criticized the move. However, it is unfortunate that politics are driving the immigration conversation in an increasingly restrictive direction, said Jenny Murray, president and the CEO of National Immigration Forum. In his speech, the president criticized Republicans for not passing bipartisan immigration reform earlier this year and asked progressive critics of the new executive action to be patient. Now, India's transformative yet divisive Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared victory in national elections on Tuesday evening, but his goal of winning an unassailable majority was left in tatters after voters delivered a shock result that reduced the extent of his party's grip on power. Today is a glorious day. National Democratic Alliance is going to form the government for the third time. We are grateful to the people, Modi told cheering supporters at his party headquarters in New Delhi, referring to the initials of his political alliance. This is a victory for the world's largest democracy. Modi is set to form a government with the help of his NDA allies, a third consecutive term and a landmark that makes him one of the most successful politicians in post-independence India. But Modi's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party fell short of securing the 272 seats needed to win an outright majority in parliament, a stunning upset that leaves them reliant on coalition partners to form a government. Modi's NDA alliance won 292 seats combined, out of which his BJP alone secured 240. Now back to Africa, a Senegalese court has jailed 2 men for spreading false news after they accused Ousmane Sonko, the country's new prime minister, of tolerating homosexuality. Activist Ba Daikate and Imam Sheikh Ahmed Tidiane Ndao were jailed for 3 months and fined $165 each. They had been angered that Mr. Sonko had allowed a visiting French politician to express his support for same-sex marriages. Homosexual acts are banned in the mainly Muslim West African country and are punishable by up to 5 years in prison. The political activist and preacher were arrested 2 weeks ago after posting a video attacking Mr. Sonko for giving a platform to Jean-Luc, a far-left French politician. Mr. Jean-Luc gave his opinion about same-sex marriages at a student forum in the capital, Dakar, in mid-May. His comments reportedly sparked boos from the audience at Cheikh Anta Diop University. In response, Mr. Sonko said that Western countries should show restraint on social matters such as LGBTQ rights, as it could lead to anti-Western sentiments. Senegal would continue to manage issues around homosexuality in accordance with its socio-cultural norms, the Prime Minister said. He was quoted saying that homosexuality was not accepted but tolerated in Senegal. And lastly, matters climate. The rate Earth is warming, pardon me, the rate at which Earth is warming hit an all-time high in 2023, with 92% of last year's surprising record-shattering heat caused by humans, top scientists calculated. The group of 57 scientists from around the world used United Nations-approved methods to examine what's behind last year's deadly burst of heat. They said even with a faster warming rate, they don't see evidence of significant acceleration in human-caused climate change beyond increased fossil fuel burning. Last year's record temperatures were so unusual that scientists have been debating what's behind the big jump and whether climate change is accelerating or if other factors are in play. If you look at this world accelerating or going through a big tipping point, things aren't doing that. Study-led author Piers Forster, the Leeds University climate scientist, said things are increasing in temperature and getting worse in sort of exactly the way we predicted. It's pretty much explained by the buildup of carbon dioxide from rising fossil fuel use, he and the co-author said. And that's it for climate news and what is happening across different borders.
Well, thank you, Chantal, and welcome back from the world news. Now, let's get back to the dailies with Durham Paul.
Well, now, the New Vision is highlighting that government has outlined new priorities in the budget. More funds for PDM, Emyoga and youth, as well as the railways sector has been outlined. Then investment, South Korea gives $24 billion in support to Africa. Matters corruption, State House probes ministers over Kiramoto's land as Bride and Groom Expo 2024 offering brides unparalleled beauty. Find details in today's New Vision. Then also President Museveni warns candidates against selfishness. Picture of the president as well as the CDF at the front page of the New Vision. Now, Mwalimu, why are secondary schools failing to implement the new curriculum? Big report in today's New Vision. Now, also, besides that, we look at what the Daily Nation is highlighting, that is in Kenya. Anatomy of a sick nation. Health. Some of the most affected are HIV drugs for children, antibiotics, and more in today's Daily Nation. Then elsewhere, reject tax bill. More than 500 groups and banks tell members of parliament. Then Charlene steps on toes with shoe drive for schools. Find more details in today's Daily Nation. Now, tribute. Gone, non-forgotten. Ja Love as Njambi takes her final ball. Read about the popular radio and television host Njambi Kolkai, also known as Jambai, or Fai Muma, to her fans, who passed on age 38. She underwent 21 surgeries to cure endometriosis over the years. Now, Korea-Africa Summit charts the path to a successful continent. Then lastly, from the Daily Nation, varsity funding. State forced to withdraw admission letters. That is close to 20,000 students who did not report to universities last year. Will the numbers continue to grow? More details in the Daily Nation. Now, lastly, from the press review, debt servicing to gobble up 3 trillion Kenyan shillings. The allocation, which was rising by 2.7 trillion, forms the bulk of the finance ministry. Is 18.3 trillion Tanzanian shillings budget for the 2024-2025 financial year. Then Mpungwe's key role in struggle to free South Africa. Then there is an interesting report on gambling, why gambling looks set to take root amid mounting concerns. Then in the national crime matters, suspects arrested as killings rock Morogoro region. That and more is what the press review is highlighting this morning.
Well, thank you, Jerome Paul. Now we will take a short break and leave you with the inspiration song of the day. We will be right back.
Live.
Parliament, Matthias Mpuga, gets to be called out because of the alleged corruption after they shared about 1.7 billion shillings amongst themselves. Now, Hampton Obua, the NRM chief whip, says that the members of parliament are not following, especially those from the NRM party, are not following the party prescriptions, and actually asked them to stop signing the censure motion until an investigation has been done and establishment has been made to ensure that they are acting according to the rules and regulations of the NRM party. But the move of the motion, Theodore Sechkubo said for them they will not be deterred. They are going to continue seeking for signatures. Last week they were looking for about 40 signatures, and this week they say they are looking for under 30 signatures. So that's what is happening in the Parliament of Uganda and so much more around the country. But we will launch into that after I have checked on the team. Jerome Paul, how are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing fantastic. I've been going through a survey here that was released by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development yesterday as they were launching the National Budget Month. And my observation also was that the Minister of Finance was not in the country and was represented by the State Minister, that is Honorable Evelyn Anite, who's in charge of privatization and investment, but still under the Ministry of Finance. And also what was revealed that day or yesterday was that Uganda is the most transparent country within the region when it comes to budget issues, according to the Open Budget Survey. However, still on a very good note that I've woken up on a Wednesday, details coming in from the developments at the Namugongo Shrine do not reveal some good news for Ugandans, because some of the pilgrims are still stuck at Namugongo. Why? Because they lack transport to head back to their different destinations where they came from, especially those who came trekking. So I don't know if the church has some, special budget for those people to head back home. But then also police yesterday released the same statement on the Martyrs' Day that 38 children were registered missing during the celebration. Now, out of the 38, that is at the Catholic side, 29 of them were reunited with their families. And then on the side of the Anglican, 4 cases were registered of missing children. And on a good note, 4 of them were reunited with their family. Now the question is, where are the 9 that are still missing? That is at the Catholic side. But nonetheless, it's Wednesday, and here we are to inspire the Ugandans.
Yes, here we are to inspire Ugandans. And as Sonko mentions the budget, it should also be noted that the network organization has also found that only 15% of Ugandans are involved in the budget process. And according to their findings, many Ugandans don't know what the budget is all about. They think it is just a government process that doesn't concern them. So in as much as we scored 59 points on transparency when it comes to inclusion and how the budget is implemented and what Ugandans know about it, we are at 15%. So we are still doing poorly in that facet. Well, good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you today?
I'm fine. Are you okay?
I'm very well. Just a little bit concerned that every single year we have to worry about people who need to return to their villages after trekking all those kilometers to come to Kampala and then get here, and 1, they don't know how to get back to where they came from. 2, they decide to, some even abandon their babies in Namugongo. Some even gave birth from there. I don't know if the goal was to come and give birth from Kampala. I still don't get it. And then others, they're still drinking beer. And then others came to our court using drugs as well.
You know, when it comes to Namugongo, I don't think
Anything should be
everyone really
expected.
comes for that event to remember the matters and for spiritual matters. Because let's face it, we've had the stories, we've seen the pictures, and it begs for the question, some of the people still stuck there, are they the people that really came for spiritual nourishment or they came for other things?
No, but most of the people who are stuck there came for spiritual matters.
Okay.
They came while trekking. So the chances are they didn't have even the money to bring them there. So only the money that they had on them was maybe money to buy some few, you know, some few things.
Like food and all, of which they were also complaining that the commodities and items and food were actually high. For example, a cup of tea usually, which is like 500 shillings, that's an unspiced black tea, was going for around 2,000.
So which means the cost of even living within Namugongo became high for them.
But then again, we have the same story every single year. People trek all those kilometers, get to Kampala, and then they can't return. And then people have to be mobilized, or we have to mobilize to send them back. Should we start thinking that these individuals come with the notion that when I get there, I'll figure out how to come back, the mobilize, and I'll be repatriated back to my village?
I want to believe maybe some of the believers are always believing in so many miracles at the same time.
I understand that. But now looking at Parliament and the censure motion, we now see that some members of Parliament are already writing to the Speaker withdrawing their signatures, as because especially those from the NRM party, after they have been ordered by Hamson Oboa, the party chief whip, to stop signing the motion. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, yesterday, Evelyn Anite mentioned something, Honorable Evelyn Anite, that she has always been behind the conversations to put an end to corruption. Because corruption is something that makes the ruling party that she belongs to, that is NRM, unpopular among the people. So when you look at some of these developments, clearly it shows that some of, some of the members of Parliament are not willing to take a stand against certain decisions that favor the people. Yes. So when you come to look at how many Ugandans were, had bought into this particular censure motion and how many of them wanted these commissioners to be penalized, when you look at the majority of the members of Parliament coming out to say they want to withdraw their vote, I mean, it begs more for us as a country.
It leaves a lot to be desired.
Yes.
Anyway, I have a world to commemorate the World Environment Day, and the events are taking place in Sironko. Now, IUBC team is on ground and is tirelessly working to bring you live feeds up there and, of course, live reports. But before we even go into the live feeds, we are going to launch into a conversation with the Executive Director of NEMA, that is Mr. Akankwasa Badirega, who will be joining us on the phone as we speak matters World Environment Day. Now, this year's theme is land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. That is the theme for World Environment Day today. Good morning, Mr. Badirega.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, our viewers and listeners.
Well, we are glad to have you. I understand that you're already in Sironko, where the events are taking place today.
Yes, already Sironko today, and we are already in Sironko, ready to receive all of you here to commemorate the World Environment Day 2024.
Okay, that's a very beautiful invite. Now, what is the significance of this day, and why should Uganda be a part of the celebrations?
Well, the day was established by United Nations as a day one to celebrate about the milestones reached and also reflect on the challenges that remain to be addressed in ensuring that we live in a healthy planet, a planet that has biodiversity teeming, a planet that has no pollution, a planet that has no climate change. That's the climate that we all strive to attain, a climate that is healthy for all.
Okay.
So there is all the reason to celebrate the day because, as you know, environment is part and parcel of us, and anything that affects the environment affects our well-being. And so we have all the reasons to celebrate, but also reflect on what we need to do more.
All right. So looking at the theme of this year's celebrations, one would wonder how it relates to Uganda's environment priorities.
Just like the region hosting, our national theme, which is measured from the international theme, is land restoration for climate resilience. Now, we all know what climate change is doing to the whole world. We've been seeing how disasters arising from climate change are ravaging the world. We have also seen with our eyes how climate extremes have caused flash floods, for example, in the eastern region, Elgon region, where we are. We've seen landslides in Elgon region. We've seen landslides in Kasese, in Kigezi. So the theme rhymes well. It talks to us on things that we've seen, and we couldn't have hosted it in a better region than eastern Uganda that has seen with its own eyes the negative impact of climate change. We've had the disasters in Bududa, you know very well. We've had the landslides in Vorambuli. We've had floods in Mbale. And so our message is, if we do not restore our land, we shall continue to be vulnerable to climate change. But if we restore our land, we shall create more resilience, and our people and our planet will be able to resist extremes of climate change. And so the message is restore, restore, restore. And we've not only brought the message here, we've also brought the real efforts on the ground. We've been restoring, we've been planting trees in the region. We've planted trees on the riverbanks of River Steronko. We've planted trees in schools. We've planted trees at the Professor Navodere Institute. So it's been not only a message, but also action on the ground.
All right. Now, when it comes to environment, we know that you are the National Environment Management Authority, but in most cases, people do not know what exactly NEMA's mandate is vis-a-vis other organizational agencies that are also working towards climate change and environment. So maybe briefly, tell Ugandans what, when it comes to the environment, what NEMA's exact mandate is.
So that's a very, very important question. Quite often people think that NEMA is a wetland conservation organization, which is not. So it's very important that we explain to the people the mandate of NEMA. I will equate it to leadership in a school. In a school, you will have prefects. Each prefect will be in charge of a sector. For example, mess prefect, you will have sports minister, you will have hygiene, you will have academics, and then there is a head prefect. Now, the work of the head prefect is to mobilize and supervise the prefect so that they do what they are supposed to do. So similarly, NEMA was established as the principal agency for environment management in Uganda with 4 mandates: to supervise, to monitor, to coordinate, and to regulate all the players on the environment front. And who are the players? The players are what we call the lead agencies, and lead agencies include the ministries, departments, agencies, local government, urban authorities, and individuals. So our work is to ensure that those mandated to manage various segments of environment do so and do so very well. For example, we work closely with NFA, which is in charge of forest, Central Forest Reserve, Uganda Wildlife Authority in charge of wildlife, Wetland Management Department in the Ministry of Water and Environment in charge of wetlands, Directorate of Water Resources Management also in the Ministry of Water and Environment in charge of lakes and rivers and water resources, local governments are in charge of also parts of wetlands, air quality, for example, noise. And so our role is to pretend to ensure that everyone is doing what they are supposed to do. In other words, we are a watchdog. We do not manage environment segments directly, but we mobilize and coordinate those in charge so that we can attain environment sustainability in our nation.
Well, thank you so much for that clarification, because it's usually a question, and whenever we have environmental issues, many Ugandans are always putting NEMA at the forefront or blaming NEMA for failure to do ABC. So thank you so much for that clarification. Now, moving on, still when it comes to environmental protection, are there any initiatives that NEMA has undertaken or is planning to undertake in order to protect the environment?
Oh, lots of things have happened and they continue to happen. As per our mandate, we champion change in government laws and policies, and this we've done with excellence. We have the National Environment Act 2019. We have several regulations and policies and standards. So on that front, we've been able to do extremely well. In implementation, we work with lead agencies, for example, to ensure that we restore our forest cover. And I'm happy to report to the nation, as you know, that forest cover loss in Uganda has been reversed from 9% in 2015 to now 13.3%. So the curve has been turned. We also work with the department responsible for wetland management. We support them to enforce the laws and regulations on wetlands. We've had several operations around the country, and more operations are still ongoing to remove people who have encroached on wetlands. We've now, as government, gazetted all wetlands in Uganda, which is the first thing, that the first time wetlands have been gazetted since Uganda was ever created. So we are making progress. We have been able to establish now standards for air quality in Uganda, which is also another milestone. We are now able to say, in terms of air quality, you are above, and therefore this type of engine should not be on Uganda's roads. This type of thing should not be allowed. So we now have a benchmark for improving our air quality. We've been working with the Directorate of Water Resources and the Ministry of Water and Environment to restore riverbanks. And like I told you, we've done so in eastern Uganda. We've done so in western Uganda along the riverbanks of River Nyamwamba. We continue to raise awareness across the nation to ensure that our people live a sustainable life. We are also in charge of ensuring that development does not cause environment degradation. We do so through environment and social impact assessment, and we've, for the first time, automated the processes for environment and social impact assessment. You are now able to apply for a NEMA certificate online, pay online, and receive your certificate online, which is a major milestone that will help us to avoid issuance of permits in sensitive areas. The system is able to tell us that this is a wetland, this is a national park, this is a forest reserve, and therefore you are not able to issue a development certificate. We've been working with the Ministry of Land to cancel, to support them to cancel some titles that were issued illegally or by error in wetlands Central Forest Reserve, and about 3,000 titles have so far been cancelled, and this work continues. More titles in wetlands will continue to be cancelled. We've, for the first time again in the history of Uganda, established the National Environment Protection Force, which was created under Section 25 of National Environment Act. Our chief guest will today unveil and launch the Environment Protection Force, which will be a force dedicated to enforcing environment laws, and it will be supported by the other sister forces, including the police and the army. So we are making progress, but a lot remains to be done, and we continue to rally Ugandans that environment management is not a government matter alone. Government alone cannot deliver environment. Environment can only be delivered when all of us work together. For example, management of plastic, we've now introduced environment extended producer responsibility, where we require producers of plastic to put in place mechanisms to buy back the used up plastic for repurposing, for recycling and reusing, and this is going to create jobs for those who pick the waste, and also it will keep our environment clean, because these plastics which clog our channels, our water bodies, will now be picked and taken to collection centers for payback, and to us this is significant progress.
One actually would wonder, and I like that you do mention about recycling of plastics, because there is always a question of what importance or of what significance is public participation in environmental conservation.
In fact, environment conservation is in the hands of the public and not the hands of government. Government can only champion, but environment sustainability can only be attained by collective efforts of individuals at household level, at personal level. How you live with nature, how you treat your waste, what you eat, how you dispose your waste, the trees you plant, how you relate with the pollinators, for example, the bees, how you do farming. Are you doing sustainable farming? Are you doing farming that degrades your land? So environment conservation can only be attained through personal initiatives. Government can only coordinate you, government can only regulate, government can only create awareness and be a champion, but the ultimate change in the way we relate with the environment can only happen at individual and household level.
Okay, and are there any programs that NEMA has implemented to increase public awareness and involvement?
Oh yes, we have a dedicated department for education, public environment education and awareness, and we go to communities. We conduct outreaches through direct engagement, through environment barazas, through radio and TV programs, through social media. We have active groups in schools. We work with the wildlife clubs of Uganda to ensure that we target the young tax, the young generation. Because once you have a generation that is environmentally aware, we are very sure of the future. So we have extensive programs right from primary, secondary, and universities, but we also have environment education and awareness programs for the adults through radio, TV, and physical barazas in communities. So yes, we have an extensive education for sustainability program.
Well, we are having a conversation with the Executive Director for the National Environment Management Authority, that is Dr. Akankwasa Badirega, and we are speaking matters International Environment Day, and the celebrations this year are taking place in Sironko district, where Mr. Badirega is at the moment. And coming back to you, Mr. Akankwasa, why was Sironko chosen to have or to host the celebrations for World Environment Day?
Thank you, Olive. World Environment Day at national level is celebrated in a rotational manner for hosting. So every year we go to a different region. Last year we were in the Central. We held our celebrations at Kororo Airstrip. The previous year we were in other regions. We've been to North, we've been to West, we've been to Central. So it was the turn for Eastern Uganda. And within Eastern Uganda, we thought that Sironko, which is at the heart of Elgon region, serving Sebei region as well as the Bukisu region, we thought that it was the best to host. And indeed, they have proved that they are the best host. We have been here for a week now, restoring degraded ecosystem, and we are still here, and they have been, and they remain a wonderful host. So we are here for two reasons. It is their turn to host, but also the theme rhymes well. It speaks to what is happening in Elgon region. Land degradation is a big issue here, and NEMA has come up with a project partnering with the Global Environment Fund to restore Elgon ecosystem and landscape. And so, yes, it is both their turn to host, but also we couldn't have got a better host than them in terms of relating to the theme of the year.
Okay. Now, we have seen arcades and malls mushrooming in sometimes questionable areas when it comes to environment and environmental conservation. And so how does NEMA balance the need for development vis-a-vis environmental conservation?
Oliver, at independence, the population of Uganda was 80 million,
yes.
Just 8. The population of Uganda now is above 45 as we wait for the outcome of the census.
Yes.
So from 8 million at independence to 45 and more on the same piece of land, you can always expect pressure. Because we've not just doubled. You imagine from 8 to 45. So it is multiples of people, meaning they will need space, they will need shelter, they will need services. So environment is at extreme pressures from human population, and those are some of the challenges that the environment may suffer because of the population pressure. The role of government, the role of NEMA is to ensure that we manage that pressure.
How best are you managing it though?
Yes.
Because
so
the population is
not
growing, like you said. There is the, for instance, in urban centers, we have the rural-urban migration taking place every single year, and that also
yes.
contributes to environmental degradation when you talk about how we waste, or how we dispose of waste and how we manage our waste, especially in the cities.
And even the space we occupy.
Exactly.
The space we occupy. You can't have the 45 million and then you don't have environmental degradation. So environmental degradation has been happening globally because of the explosion in human population. But we do manage through regulation. We do require that before you establish, for example, an industry, before you establish your mall, you should be able to get NEMA certificate to guide you, so that you can have your development, but with minimal or no negative impact on the environment. So we do so through regulation, through awareness, and through enforcement. Where the law is breached, we come up with enforcement. You've seen us breaking properties that are illegally established in sensitive ecosystems. And so we use a multiple of interventions through awareness, regulation, and enforcement to be able to guide our development.
Okay, so what are NEMA's strategic goals for the next 5 to 10 years as far as environmental conservation is concerned?
So the country has come up with a 10-year restoration plan. So our main preoccupation as a country will be, first of all, to stop further environment degradation. That's our priority number 1. After halting environment degradation, we embark on restoration of degraded environment, restoration of wetlands, restoration of our forest cover. We continue to restore our forest cover. Our target for 2026 is 15%. We are at 13.3%, so we are on course to achieving the national target. To restore our wetlands, to restore our water in terms of lake shores and riverbanks, to revegetate the hilltops that are bare, to improve our air quality through tree planting, through managing vehicular emissions, and through eliminating open burning of waste. And of course, we also need a calm environment. We need to manage the increasing levels of noise and vibration pollution, which is a very, very serious issue. So we are preoccupied with halting environmental degradation and restoring the environment that is already degraded. Those are our 2 core goals for the next 10 years.
Okay, that is encouraging, especially when you look at forest cover that is no longer really forest. When you take a drive, I believe you've taken a drive through Mavira Forest and you see what's going on there. But with those plans, there is hope. So what would be your parting shots to Ugandans on World Environment Day today?
My parting shots to Ugandans is to encourage them and assure them that not all is lost. We are the problem as a people, but we are also the solution. I want to give hope to Ugandans that it is possible that we can change our planet. We've done it in forest cover. We've moved from 9 to 13.3. We've done it in wildlife. Our wildlife had already dwindled in the 1980s, early 1980s. Our wildlife had almost dwindled to extinction levels. With peace and stability, we've been able to recover most of our wildlife population. Elephants have increased, for example, from 1,900 individuals to now above 8,000. So what I'm saying is that it is possible. All we need to do is to be determined and fulfill our individual responsibilities, and we shall be able to win. Regarding the theme of the day, I encourage and call upon Ugandans to restore degraded land, and you can restore degraded land through doing the following. Practice agroforestry so that you have trees and crops in your land. You do not have to say, I don't have land for planting trees and for raising my cattle. You can achieve both on the same piece of land. You can also restore land through mulching, through use of organic waste that instead of throwing away, return it to your soil, because instead of buying fertilizer made of chemicals, NPK, or imported, you can restore your land productivity better using better and improved methods of farming, but also returning organic refuse as organic fertilizer, and then you will be able to continue improving your land productivity, to continue producing crops for food and for cash.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Akankwasa, for speaking with us and, of course, for giving us a highlight into today's events and what the country plans as far as environmental conservation is concerned in the next 10 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Olive.
Well, we have been having a conversation with the NEMA Executive Director, Barirega Akankwasa, regarding World Environment Day, which is happening today. Celebrations are taking place in Sironko district, and he did say that this is because Sironko is at the heart of eastern Uganda, the Elgon region, and this area has had issues with land degradation because of landslides and whatnot, so they decided to have this year's celebrations in this area so that they can also help the area work on some of the issues they are grappling with as far as the environment is concerned. Well, we'll take a breather. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and Good Morning Uganda continues.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Cultural tourism in Uganda is one of the less spoken about products that we have in the country, yet it attracts like several discerning tourists that are going out for culture experiences, unique culture experiences around the world. So when we talk about Uganda's culture with the more than 50 tribes that we have in the country, it is really a product that we should be giving a lot more attention, considering the other products that we are giving attention now. And today, being in Toro region, Toro Kingdom, here we are at Empako Village, the one-stop center for all Toro's culture. If you need to know anything about Toro's culture, this is the place. But the highlight for the place is the Empako. Do you know that Empako is just a pet name that is given to the Toro people, but it is also extending to the Banyoro, going to Congo. So it is a pet name, say Amoti, Aboli, Apodi. These are some of the common names. And yes, it is common that most people have pet names. Maybe they meet Toro friends that give them these pet names, but do you know the rituals behind? Do you know how you're initiated into this pet name, how you get this pet name? So at Empako Village, you get into the real Empako tradition. It is an indigenous tradition that is somehow being phasing out due to the modernity that is coming up, the transformation. But here at Empako Village, you get the real experience, the rituals, you go through the rituals, the food, everything that you need so that you get your Empako name rightfully as the Motoro woman or Motoro man that they get it. So let's roll through the place and see what happens here.
Solomon Kajura is my name. Proprietor of Empako Village. I think pride ourselves of culture tourism. You're sitting in a valley called the Gweri Valley, which is traditionally was a hunting ground for the kings. The uniqueness of Empako Village is that we want to build and preserve the Empako tradition in its entirety. So at Empako Village, you'll get an Empako name. You will get to see the cultural artifacts explaining the life of a Mutoro or the life of Empako tradition. You will get to experience the music. you'll get to experience the food, you'll get to experience all other rituals that associate with the Batoro and the people of Mpako. But also, I mean, the art and the architecture embedded in us brings out the beauty that you see today. So the uniqueness of tourism really, I feel, is the experience and the beauty and the story behind the establishment.
My name is Nelon Gerada Moti, and there are very many people who have Mpako outside there, but they don't have it the right way. They did not have rituals performed of getting Mpako. Mpako, for those who don't know, is these are names of endearment for the Watoro and Vanyoro and other tribes around East Africa. There are 12 of them, and most people have them, say a Moti, a Kiki. Some people don't have them the way they're supposed to. So right here you get to learn how the rituals are performed, and you get to get yourself Mpako as any person. It's important to know that today Mpako is for everyone, whether you're coming from Uganda, whether you're coming from the rest of Africa, whether you're coming from the US, Europe, Asia. It's for everyone, and this is one of the places where you get to get Mpako the right way.
We're preserving an endangered culture of the world. Mpako tradition is very endangered because the new generations don't really care about, oh well, they may care, but even the rituals that we did to name a Mutoro, a Munyoro, a Boki, a Moti, a Puli, and all the rest is slowly getting eradicated, because we see a lot of visitors who come and say, yeah, but I already have a name. I have a pet name. I'm a Boki, I'm what? I'm like, how did you get the name? And they say, yeah, my friend, I met a friend of mine, and he named me a Boki. But we still have to go about rituals to get the name.
Before you get Mpako, if you are born from here, there is a process they give you go through. One, when a child is born, a boy or a girl, after 4 days, that's when you qualify for a boy to get Mpako. And after 3 days, that's when you qualify to get Mpako for a girl, for those who are born in this kingdom. So after those 3 days or 4 days, depending on the gender, for a boy, they will take you around the house 4 times as people laugh and smile around. And then after that, they'll take you to one of your uncles, and that person will hold the child on their laps. They keep doing it 4 times for the boy. And then they give you Mpako according to how someone feels about you, according to how they look at you. They choose one of the 12 Mpako and give it to you. For a girl, it's 3 times around the house as people laugh and smile. And then they get the auntie of the child, and then they do the same thing 3 times for the girl. Still, they choose Mpako that suits you and give it to you. Once that is done, they prepare a meal of millet or kalo, with obutuzi or mkaro, that meat prepared with mushrooms. And then for the girl, they give her, you eat on it 3 times, the millet. And then for the boy, you eat on it 3 times. The reason for going around the house laughing and doing that stuff is basically to create a cheerful attitude in the child, and making sure the child grows with positive energy.
So many activities happen here at Mpako village. You can go for shipping, but here still you're going to meet not the world's biggest, but we consider it the world's biggest port house, because when you look at the World Guinness records, the highest port stands at around 2 meters, but this one, it is like in 12 meters. So we believe that it is the world's largest port house. So if you want to see such unique things in Uganda, you should consider visiting Mpako village, that is located just about 12 kilometers on Chibale Road and 5 kilometers from the Chigarama post. So just be here. This is a place for you. Explore Uganda. Yeah, you know what I forgot? I am.
Good morning. And you are live on UBC this morning. It's time for us to check into GMU business this time round. And with which I'll start with the banking industry, because Uganda's banking industry has been urged to directly have capital towards the transformative investments and projects that are way sustainable. According to Michael Ating Ego, who is the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, he revealed that environmental and social governance principles should be some of the things that the banking industry should emphasize for sustainable growth and development. By this, it will be laying financial strategies that will also avert numerous risks. Now, when you look at the increasingly businesses that are looking into sustainable growth, you also get to realize that the models that need to be used for a better place in Uganda's financial sector need to be utilized. It's on this background that the Uganda's financial industry, under their umbrella organization, the Uganda Bankers Association, launched the industry's environmental and social governance framework. The market dynamics, policy changes, and shifting customer preferences also further prompted financial institutions globally to consider how to identify, mitigate environmental, social, and governance risks in their strategies and operations. Now, according to Wilbrod Owor, who is the CEO of Uganda Bankers Association, the banking business is changing from a product point of view, particularly credit, where ESG is being embedded. Now, relatedly, when you also put it in Uganda's perspective, Uganda's Bankers Association's annual Bankers Conference for 2024 is slated for the 19th of this very month, and it will be held in Kampala. Now, elsewhere, we look at boosting Uganda's exports because the Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports and Industrial Development, PASAID, is urging the Ugandan entrepreneurs to adhere to international standards in order to meet various needs on the international market, which in the long run will enhance the exports that we have as a country and also improve on the quality of the goods that we have on the market. Now, the committee, in partnership with the Ministry of Trade and other government trade agencies, are currently compiling a list of serious exporters ready to leverage the trade network that they've been building for almost 2 years now. The Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports and Industrial Development recently released their annual 2023-2024 Export and Industrial Report, which further highlights tremendous efforts in establishing linkages to facilitate increased Ugandan export. Now, over the last 1.5 years, it is easy to expect tangible results from Audrey Rabogo and his team, but the work being put in is to establish business networks that can potentially raise the flag of Uganda. Now, the 13 key sectors that PASAID is targeting are coffee, grains, there is fruits and vegetables, flowers, tourism, dairy, there is beef and others. These sectors are crucial for economic development and export growth in Uganda. Now, on the 5th of December in the year 2022, President Yoweri Museveni tasked PASAID with a goal to realize $6 billion in regards to Uganda's export receipts. That is by 2027. Now, fast forward 2024, you get to realize that since 2022, when the president set out PASAID to meet that $6 billion in regards to Uganda's goal from the exports, the efforts by PASAID are continuing to grow and to ensure that the quality of goods is way above that we have currently. Looking also into the financial year 2024-2025, following the past 2 years of the financial year and how the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has been putting money into human capital development, that alone enables those, for example, in commercial agriculture, to also grow and ensure that they make more money in the coming years. But well, with me, I'm holding the Open Budget Survey 2023, which was also launched yesterday, bringing us to the same report of what was highlighted during the launch of the National Budget Month for 2024-2025, as well as the signatories upon the opening of the Budget Survey 2023. Now, the Permanent Secretary and Secretary to the Treasury, Ramadhan Gobi, revealed that the 2024-2025 budget has key priorities to help the government achieve full monetization of the economy that will as well see the 49% of the Ugandans also tap into the money economy in the next financial year. However, stakeholders have also advised that the government puts more emphasis to address corruption, which has deterred development in the country. Now, also, on the other hand, the other experts have urged that the government should also reduce and the supplementary requests and also cut on further expenses in the next financial year, which includes incentives and as well as some of the other trips that members of parliament and other ministers are making. Now, this was during the launch of the National Budget Month for the financial year 2024-2025 and the launch of the Open Budget Survey Report for 2023. The financial year budget estimate stands at 72 trillion Ugandan shillings, 72.136 Ugandan shillings, with 32 trillion shillings allocated towards debt servicing. Now, in the 72 trillion budget, government made priorities like investing in security, maintenance of key infrastructure, then also investing in wealth creation, all in line with the objective of fully monetizing Uganda's economy. Now, this year's budget will help government create revenue through priority funding, then there is reduced expenditure, and then reduced borrowing. And during the launch of the same financial year or the month for the national budget for the financial year 2024-2025, there was a note to accomplish government pending projects and providing accountability for transparency. And on that, the transparency in regards to the online availability and timeliness and comprehensiveness of 8 key budget documents shows that Uganda on the global average is standing #1 in budget transparency compared to others, ranking 44 out of 125 countries worldwide. And on the African continent, Uganda comes in fast, followed by Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, Madagascar, Somalia, Burundi, South Sudan, and Comoros, when you look at the global average of transparency compared to the others. Now, the stakeholders say government needs to address corruption because it is draining the funds that are meant to be invested in fully monetizing the economy. So if that is done, according to the experts, the civil society players, and also the other private sector players, then we shall fully see that the economy is monetized. Now, lastly, we head to the international scene because Forbes released a new list of the richest billionaires, and Elon Musk is now the richest with 210 billion, with Bill Gates coming in with 129. Now, when you look at the list for the top richest billionaires in 2024 per now, after surpassing Bernard Arnault and Jeff Bezos, you get to realize that Elon Musk is leading with Forbes' real-time richest or world's wealthiest individuals. Now, getting into here, he's currently having a net worth of $210.7 billion, and he's now currently the richest person in the world. He's closely followed by Bernard Arnault and Jeff Bezos, who comes in at third with a net worth of 201 billion and 197.4 billion respectively. Now, Bernard Arnault, who had been the first on this particular Forbes list, comes in at second with 201.0 billion US dollars, with Elon Musk holding 210.7 billion US dollars. Now, Jeff Bezos is in third place with 197.4 billion US dollars. Now, also looking at the same list, you get to realize it has Mark Zuckerberg, co-founder and CEO of Meta Platforms, formerly Facebook, with a fortune of 166 billion US dollars. Larry Ellison, co-founder, chairman, and CTO of Oracle, has a net worth of 132 billion, coming in at number 5. And then at number 6 is Larry Page, co-founder of Google, now Alphabet, boasting a net worth of 153 billion US dollars. Warren Buffett comes in at 7 with a net worth of 137 billion US dollars. Warren Buffett is known as the Oracle of Omaha and is the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway with a net worth of 137 billion. Then Sergey Brin, co-founder of Google, has a net worth of 145 billion US dollars. He's also originally from Moscow, co-developed Google's search engine with Larry Page. He's currently number 8. Now, Bill Gates at number 9 is worth 152 billion US dollars. That is his net worth, according to Forbes. Now, Steve Ballmer comes in at 10 with 123 billion US dollars of his net worth. So that is the real-time Forbes list of the world's wealthiest men as updated in the past 12 hours. Now, lastly, from our business news this morning, we now look at the forex market to see how business closed yesterday. Now, by the look of things, the opening time saw the US dollar buy at 3,805.29 shillings, while selling was at 3,815.29 shillings. But midday, the US dollar was buying at 3,806.79 shillings, while selling at 3,816.79 shillings. And then the US dollar closing time was 3,805.63, while selling was 3,815.63. That is how you will find the dollar this morning. Then the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,870.06 shillings, while selling at 4,882.86 shillings. Then the euro was buying at 4,147.75 shillings, while selling at 4,158.65 shillings. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 29.16 shillings, while selling at 29.23 shillings. And then the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.46 shillings, while selling at 1.46 shillings. The South African rand was buying at 205.12 shillings, while selling at 205.59 shilling. And that is how you will find the various currencies faring on the exchange. And well, that is it for business. I'll be back tomorrow to give you more from the business world. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. Chantal Oliver Kaninda is right here, but in Studio A, to give you details coming in from the traffic updates. Stick around. Good morning.
Good morning and thank you for sticking around. This is time for us to talk traffic updates. But before we dive into the traffic updates, while Sonko was telling us about the list of the 10 richest individuals in the world, I didn't hear a female in the whole list. Should we say we are being malised by the person collecting, or you also, Sonko, you selected who seemed to be relevant?
When you look at the list for the last pretty much 5 years, you do realize that it has been most dominated by the men in the top 10. And they've been there. The only issue has been with the positioning. Now, Bernard Arnault was at number 1 previously. Now he's at number 2. But also the women are making the strides, I should say. I think tomorrow I should look at the top 10 richest women or wealthiest women, so that I give it a fair gender balance.
The list you are giving us is the list of the richest men, not the richest individuals.
Richest individuals.
See, you see what I'm talking about? Tomato.
It was a list of the richest individuals. But well, the women are making some good money. Though again, when you also look closely, even in the top 15, they are not there. So which shows that, we really need to look deep in, understanding why they are not. But well, those who are actually married to the wealthiest men, you get to realize that when they divorce at times, they end up sharing some of this wealth together. So I think this is where some of the women find themselves in maybe a talk of billionaire and millionaire. But nonetheless, when you also look at some of the women, by the way, the closest women on the list according to Forbes, this one is Francois Bettencourt, Myers and family. Yeah, they're in fashion and retail. You get to realize that their ranking is at 15. And
I think I've really been tortured enough with this conversation.
And then the other woman also on the list is also under fashion and retail. She's Alice Walton, and she's number 21st on the wealthiest individual. So you get to see there is a huge gap. From 21st,
that you need to close.
The other family again is Julia Kachan family at 23. Then from there, the next female you will see on the list comes in at 35, Jacqueline Mars. She's in food and beverages.
I have been tortured enough for this conversation.
So maybe since she's in food and beverages, and you can as well try to become the next.
Well, the task is on us, definitely, because there is no way we are going to allow the list to be. We can't be first 10 individuals and then the individuals have no female in there. And that means we need to really pull up our socks as ladies. And being married to a rich man doesn't make you a rich wife. that is a misconception that women have out there. But anyway, let's cross and see how you can maneuver through the traffic this very morning. I'm going to try my level best to give you some few areas, and you know, those that you can use and those that you can avoid. I'm not going to use one route as I've been doing recently. So right now, if you are trying to connect to Lugogo bypass, or actually trying to get to those lights, as you can see, that junction is mad with traffic. Now it is mad with traffic, and as you can see, anyone who is closing into those very lights, you're headed for some traffic. However, if you are coming from Lugogo bypass side, there is just slow movement, but relatively you'll be finding no traffic if you are coming to town all through. And you'll be finding the other place where you'll be finding lots of traffic is if you're trying to connect to Naguru Road off Lugogo bypass. So I highly recommend you desist from using that road, and this must be because schools have reopened and we have a school down there. As you can see, Naguru Avenue, Naguru Road is mad with a lot of traffic. However, you who is leaving town, you're leaving Lugogo bypass and you're trying to come back to either Naguru side or get into Kololo, you will be meeting a lot of traffic on those lights that have DHL and USAID Uganda Biodiversity for Resilience. Now, if we get into Kololo, as you can see, there is fast movement. Everything seems to be okay via the Eritrean embassy. That is why you'll be finding slow movement around the Kenyan High Commission, slow movement, and as you can see, Unikalo House side has slow movement of traffic, and there is nothing much to worry about. So if you're in position to use that road, you're better off using that one. Now, Impala Avenue is mad with slow movement, but not too much traffic that you should be worrying about. Still on to Upper Kololo Terrace, as you can see, as you're approaching that junction that has the lights, there is a lot of traffic for you who is coming from the side of Lugogo bypass. If you're trying to join Wampeo Avenue, you are safe to move all the way downwards. If you use Lower Kololo Terrace Road, there is slow movement, but nothing much to worry about. All the way downwards Wampeo Avenue, you are safe to move. If you're trying to join Golf Course Road, everything is clear for you to move. Down all the way Wampeo Avenue seems to be safe until you are approaching what you call the Wampeo Clock Tower. That is where you'll be finding slow movement, but still you are safe to move. However, on the clock tower itself, that very roundabout, it is mad with some good traffic. As you very well know, from Jinja, usually when you are coming, when you are using the Kampala Jinja Highway, if you come into town, it is mad with a lot of traffic. If you are trying to join industrial area, yes, definitely you will be headed for some good traffic. But deep inside there, it seems okay for you to move. All that is Old Port Bear Road. As you can see, it has slow movement, but nothing much to worry about. If you are continuing onto the Ginger Road, you will be finding slow movement, but nothing much for you to worry about. Access Road is safe for you who is joining exiting Ginger Road and joining Access Road. You are safe to move. 6th Street is relatively safe, as you can see. 7th Street, the same story, relatively safe. Actually, free movement, you're okay to move. However, at the roundabout, that is where you'll be finding lots and lots of traffic. Mukwano Road is mad with traffic. The deep red zones, especially for you who is exiting Mukwano Road onto access road indicate too much traffic. Otherwise, when you are sticking to Mukwano Road, if you are moving onto Mukwano Road, you're safe to move. However, if you're trying to come to town towards the roundabout, you'll be finding lots of traffic. And 8th Street seems to be mad with a bit of traffic at the start, but moving forward, you will be safe to move. Well, I've tried to really connect to the different spots that you can use as you're trying to make your way to town. And that's it on how we are standing in terms of traffic. Thank you for sticking around. Coming up is Good Morning Uganda Agenda. My name is Chantal Olive Akandinda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100.